if you care less, do you get better results? Maybe we're talking about a relationship. It's that one woman that you want, so you're desperate to get her attention. But it seems like the more you try to put yourself out there, the more you try to chase, the more she'll play hard to get. That's a trope that's quite common. It's quite well known. Whether it's true or not, that women directly, deliberately do this is unknown, but it probably is true. When women feel like they aren't wanted and aren't needed, they're more likely to try to prove that they are deserving of attention. Now, there is a certain toxicity in women that do this, because they will try to get attention, because that's what they want. They want attention. They don't want anything more. They just want to know that they are desired. They don't want to actually put out. They don't want to give of themselves. They don't want to be honest and transparent. But they do want the validation of having other people show interest. And that's not just true in romantic relationship context. It's also true with a lot of people who are a bit toxic. They want attention. They want people to acknowledge them. Maybe it's a poor me sort of a thing, like they want other people to show sympathy for something that they're going through. But the truth is, they don't really want to change. They just want to continue the cycle of getting attention, and then once they get that attention, then it's basically just a crying wolf sort of a thing. It's not really that they want to change. It's not really that they want to work through anything and come out on the other side. It's just that cycle, because they've learned that they get attention when they're going through a crisis, and so they turn everything into a crisis. Now, if you're going through a crisis once in a while, well, I wish you the best. But if you're always going through a crisis, and there's never a time when you're okay, and you don't ever come out on the other side, well, that's not a crisis. That's a lifestyle. So what do we do about it? Because there's things we want in life, people we want, jobs we want, all of those things that you might think to yourself, I would like to have that. But it's not in your power, it's not in your control to go get it. Now, there's some things where you can just say, okay, I'm going to save up my money, and if I can get this certain amount of money, then I can go buy that. But when it comes to matters of the heart, when it comes to those things that are more esoteric, things that are more of a spiritual value, there isn't any amount of money you can put out to get them. You know, I've even thought about how even if you were to go out and pursue, say, some woman who you really wanted, and you begged for her attention, and she gave it to you, would it matter? And the answer is probably not. Because if you coerce someone into pretending that they love you, or you try to buy love, or you say, well, you know, give me attention or else, well, you can't really get what you're wanting. It's like that fairy tale where there's this woman who's the queen, and she lives in the castle with the beautiful protagonist of the story, I think Cinderella, right? Yes, Cinderella. So Cinderella is the pretty, nice, good-hearted girl, and the queen always goes to the mirror and she says, who's the most beautiful woman in the realm? And the mirror always says, you are. And she fears the day when she will not be the most beautiful woman in the kingdom. So she always tries to keep Cinderella under her thumb. Keep her down. Don't ever let her find her own way, because, you know, she wants to be number one. But if you're number one in that way, then does it really matter? Because ultimately the things that really create value aren't just physical beauty. It's not just, are you the most, I guess, magazine-ready model, right? It's something else, something you can't put your finger on, that creates true love and romance and those things that make life feel vibrant and colorful. Those things can be given, but they can't be bought. So all of this is kind of leading up to the topic of this video, which is, do you get better results in life when you care less about them? And I think the answer is yes. It's kind of like that notion that if you stop chasing a woman, she's more likely to see value in you and come without being chased. Or if you were trying to feed wildlife, you're out there with the seeds trying to feed the deer. If you chase the deer down, it'll run away. But if you make the feed available and you stay still, then the deer might walk right up to you and eat out of your hand. But you see, for you to really be patient enough for that to happen, two things have to happen first. One of those things is you have to be patient. You can't be demanding. But that's not all. Because if you go out there and you're trying to be patient, because you know that if you're patient, then you'll get what you want. The deer will come to me if I am patient, so I have to wait. And you're in a hurry to wait. You're counting the minutes, you're counting the seconds, because you just want that deer to come up and eat out of your hand so you can take a picture of it and post it on social media and say, look at how I was having this wonderful little time in nature. And then you want to get on with your day. Well, it won't happen. Because in your mind, you need it to happen. So you aren't really being patient. You're pretending to be patient. So how can we be genuinely patient, to have things we want, to have high standards, and yet also to be genuinely patient without just thinking, well, you know, I'm going to practice the law of attraction and I sure hope it doesn't take very long. Well, you have to be open to life as a story which unfolds in a way that is not predetermined. You see, you keep doors open. You might have an idea of what you want in life, but you also have to be open to the possibility that blessings will come to you in ways that you don't even anticipate. So you leave a lot of different doors open. You throw a lot of different things at the wall and you see what sticks. And to do that, we have to have a certain sense of duality that we're comfortable with. to say, yeah, I want this. I think this would be amazing. But that's not the only thing. I'm not in a hurry. But I'm also not stuck in a holding pattern, saying that my life isn't complete unless I get this one very specific thing that I want. And when you let go of things and you realize that if my goal is to be happy and to be fulfilled and to have joy in my life, then I'm open to that being fulfilled in whatever way it can be fulfilled. Then we stop being desperate. You start enjoying your life. You get excited about new opportunities, and you remain open to old opportunities coming back around. You know, I think about my own life, and, you know, there's people who I may never see again, and that's okay. But there's also the chance that I will see them again, and that would be wonderful. But I don't really need it to go one way or the other, because life does have loveliness to offer in many different ways. I don't need one specific path to be fulfilled in order for my life to be fulfilled. And I really do believe that that's how you can learn to practice what I call active patience. To be proactive in the sense that you are always looking for new opportunities, while also keeping doors open to the past, because you never know when a door you thought was closed forever may actually open again. You know, I've touched on this, and thinking about having gone through a divorce a year and a half ago as I make this video, you know, the truth is, if my wife, or my ex-wife, were to show up again, and all of those vices and core fundamental things that were wrong, that kept us from being able to trust each other, if those things were gone, and she truly wanted to make it work, honestly and seriously, and I knew I could trust her, then I'd have no problem getting married again tomorrow, right? See, I don't have any hate for her. I don't have any resentment. Now, we had to go separate ways because there's a difference in values, and eventually, when you ignore a difference in values, you can only bridge that gap for so long before you reach the final ultimatum, the point when you cannot reconcile or ignore those anymore. So there was a separation. And the truth is, people don't really change very much. You can think you're going to change somebody, but the truth is, they're going to stay true to themselves. And even if they want to change, they're probably not really going to. They might pretend to change for a day or a week, or if they really like you and they want to show their best foot, maybe they'll change for a month or two or something like that. But people eventually go back to that core baseline of who they are, unless they really have a deep down inside transformation and they get to the point where they really want to change and they really actually transform in a genuine, honest way. So I say all this to say I'm open to that reconciliation, but I also know that the truth is that it's very unlikely that that would happen. So I have to acknowledge that, because it would be fruitless for me to waste away my entire life hoping and crossing my fingers that maybe that long shot would happen. But that doesn't mean that I'm closed to the idea of it happening. You see? If you're at war with somebody, even if it was two nations at war, you could say, I don't think that peace is going to be possible. But you could also say, I want to leave the door open should there be a desire for honest, meaningful dialogue. But I'm also not going to forfeit my own security because of that. You see, it takes courage to be honest about things, to say I'm going to move forward, but I'm also going to continue to honor the past. And when we do that, we really get the best of both worlds. It's kind of like in stock trading. People will buy puts and calls. And the general idea of this is that when you think a stock is going to go up, you buy the right to purchase it at a lower price. And when you think it's going to go down, you buy the right to sell it at a higher price. And if you're really smart about it, you wind up benefiting from the downs, and you also benefit from the up. Now, I am not making any sort of suggestion here that you should consider options trading, because that can be playing with fire. But you can structure your life in a way that benefits from whatever happens, to create this attitude that the house, your house, always wins. You always come out ahead in some way. If things go your way, then you're happy. But if they don't go the way you planned, you're equally happy, because that just means you have opportunities to work on yourself in different ways. It's perhaps to say, if I was married and I had a family, then there's certain things that I would be doing. And if I'm not, then there's other things that I can do with that time to enrich myself. And really, honestly, I'm glad for either one. There is no situation where I'm going to get up in the morning and say, I don't enjoy my life, because I do. My life is filled with all sorts of cool things that I can do every day. So there's this notion, we look for fulfillment. We look for that thing that's going to make us whole. And that's why we never find it. Because when you think, I'll be happy if I can get that thing, then you wind up closing doors to blessings which might come from unexpected directions. And if there was a possibility that the things that you were hoping for were something that could happen, you're going to be so busy being impatient that you'll never actually be ready when those doors open. So first, find peace in your life. That's the number one thing. You have to get to the point where you don't really care what's going to happen in your life. does not mean you are going to not take interest. Sure, you take interest, but you don't care too much. And when you don't care too much because you know life is temporary, we're not taking any of it with us when we go, we're just going to enjoy every moment of our life, that's all there is to it. When we get to that point, then we stop being desperate, we stop being angry, we start being purposeful. And I do find it's amazing how when you stop being frustrated about what's not happening in your life, then you start finding things to do with your time, finding things to do with your day, and it starts to be amazing how there's never enough time to do all of the nothing you want to get done. Life becomes filled with a non-stop parade of interesting things. And you kind of forget about all the things that you maybe wanted. The things that you used to think you needed those to be fulfilled. And you also wind up having a lot more to offer. But the funny thing is, when you do care less about the things beyond your control, and you have less fear of things that you worry about never having, and you become more mindful and purposeful in the moment, the side effect is your standards actually get higher. Because then you start to say, yes, I do have doors open to new things. I am open to greater possibilities. But now I know who I am, and I value who I am. So I'm not going to just settle for whatever. So you become a lot more selective. And that's not a bad thing. If I've learned anything in life, it's that you should set your buy order pretty low and set your sell order pretty high. In other words, you don't just buy anything. You buy things that truly have value. And you only give of yourself if you're going to get value in return. And if that means that you have to wait, that's not the worst thing you could do. There's a lot of people who settle for some middle-of-the-road thing that doesn't inspire them. They spend their life grinding in a job they don't like. They spend their time grinding in a game they don't enjoy. They spend their time sinking countless days and hours and years into relationships they do not love. And they do it because they believe that something, anything, is better than nothing. And so they settle for anything. And they wonder why it is they never have those mountaintop experiences. You know, if you've ever watched one of those romantic comedies, like the ones that star Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks, Sleepless in Seattle, You've Got Mail, stuff like that. There's this sense of finding that perfect person. And we tell ourselves, well, that doesn't happen. You know, that's just in the movies. But what if it does? What if it does, and the reason why it doesn't happen for you is because you're so afraid of being left with nothing that you become willing to settle for anything. And being willing to settle for anything is a trait which makes a person unworthy of anyone who is waiting to settle because they have high standards. So you see, caring so much that you're terrified of being left behind, terrified of missing out, unable to wait, unable to have faith, guarantees that you wind up in a perpetual cycle of never actually finding the things that you most desperately hope for. Misery is a self-fulfilling prophecy. But once you let it go, you'll find you have within yourself right now everything you need to have an amazing experience every day for the rest of your life. As always, best of luck on your journey wherever you find yourself. Till next time, thank you.